All right, this video is an attempt to explain to you the textbook problem and what you have to do. So this is the idea of the textbook problem. What you are going to do, and we're going to do this like the day before we take the test in here. So sometime next week we're going to have a textbook competition. And you're going to use your best statistic from this project against other groups or other people's in your stats class to see who can closest predict who can predict the number of textbooks most accurately. And in the textbook competition, you will not know how many textbooks there are. So we are going to accurately predict the number of textbooks of a certain course, so like stats, in a school. We are going to assume the books are numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, up to N. N represents the last number, which would be how many textbooks there are. So we really don't know N. Okay, we really don't know N. But in order to come up with a good statistic, a good way to calculate that N, how many textbooks there are, what N is, we need to assume that it's 100. So we can see which of our made-up statistics gets us closest to 100 most often. This is the key. We really don't know N. We just assume it is 100. So we can see which of our made-up statistics gets us closest to 100 most often. All right, so here's our process. Here's what you do. You are assuming, to start with, that N is 100. We do this so that we can actually see if our statistics work. We are going to, from that 100 books, we are going to take a sample of size 7. So we have 100 books. They're numbered from 1 to 100. Okay, they're floating around the school. We're going to gather 7 books from people, and we are going to write down their textbook numbers. So one, we're going to gather 25 samples of size 7 from the population of 100 textbooks. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to do it on our calculator. We're using these samples along with our made-up stats to see which stat gets us closest to 100 most often. Same thing I said on the last page. So the way I'm going to gather the 25 samples, I'm going to go to my calculator and I'm going to hit math. And I'm going to go over to PRB. And then I'm going to go down to random integer. So I'm going to go math, PRB. So I'm going to go math, over to PRB, random integer, oops, a little too far, enter, and then I want numbers from 1, 100, and I want 7 of them, and I hit enter. And all I have to keep doing is hitting enter, but I can't just keep hitting enter now. What I want to do is write these samples down. Now I'm going to switch gears. I'm going to go to the page that I've started collecting some samples on. I've already just done a few just for purpose of making it more effective for you to see the dot plots at the end. So now I'm going to write, I've noticed I've written 5 samples down and all their information. So I'm going to write down this sample. I don't go up and highlight it. I'm just going to start writing 93. Oh, this is a bad one. This is a bad one because 90 is repeated. So I'm just going to hit enter again. I'm just going to cross those out, and then I'm just going to write this one down. So 43, 26, 24, 68, 20, and it still could be a bad one. Yep, this is another bad one. 43 is gone. So I'm actually just going to cross that out, make that 6, hit enter again. You could run into this. I didn't in these first 5 samples. I guess I didn't really check. Maybe there's repeats in them. Now, this sample can have the same numbers as this sample, but within the sample, you can't have the same number repeated in here, because as you're going around collecting textbooks, you're going to make sure you're not going to ask the same person twice. So let's see if we got a good sample this time. 17, 23, 69, 5, 36, 8, 87. Okay, that looks like a good one. So now that I have that sample, now what I want to do is I want to write down all of this stuff. And you don't have to calculate it by hand. You can, but you don't have to. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in list 1. So now what I'm going to do to go from here to here is I'm going to go stat, edit. So I'm going to hit stat, edit. And I'm going to go to my list 1, and I've just been entering 7 numbers in here. You can go up and clear the list if you want to, every time, but you don't need to, because if you just keep covering up the 7 numbers, it'll be fine. So then I'm going to enter these numbers in my list. Okay, so now I have them entered in my list. Stat edit, put numbers in list 1. Okay, then the next thing I'm going to do is hit stat, calc, and then one variable stats. So stat, calc, one variable stats, and I want to make sure that the frequency list is blank. So you're going to make sure that your frequency list is blank here. So I'm going to hit stat, over to calc, and then one variable stats. I put my data in list 1 and my frequency list is empty, and so now I'm just going to hit calculate and it gives me all that stuff. So for this particular data set, we have got on our calculator here that X bar is 35, and S, it's always S, never sigma, it's always S because this is from a sample. So S is 31.5, and then I can hit my down arrow. N is 7 on all of these. You can use N in your made-up statistics too. So your min is 5, your Q1 is 8, your median is 23, your Q3 is 69, and your max is 87. Now, if you needed the IQR, you can find the IQR, take 69 minus 8, so the IQR is 61. You know, if you decide to use that, but this is a very simple way to, find your data and list everything you need all in one step. So we have 6 data sets right now, and we'll come back to that in a little bit. So let me go back to the directions. So we were on number 1, we were working on gathering 25 samples of size 7 from the population of 100 textbooks. So we did that by doing math, PRB, random integer, 1, 100, 7. And we can't allow for repeats in there, so we just have to hit enter again. And that's a fast, easy way to get all 25 samples. You can just keep hitting enter. So if you just do math, PRB, 5, 1, 100, 7, you know, you can just, there's a sample, okay, it's a good one it looks like, and then just keep hitting enter, and then it'll just keep giving it to you. So you can get 25 of them really quickly. And then you can go back and enter each of them in list 1 and write down the stats. It's a little tedious, but that's what we statisticians do to get our data. All right, so now we're going to explore some made-up statistics along with a couple of the data sets. So so in other words, we've already found the mean and the standard deviation, the min, the max. We've already found a bunch of stuff. We already know N is 7 for all of them. So we found a bunch of data with the stat calc, one variable stats. So now we're going to come up with some different combinations of these with a couple of our data sets and see if we can get a made-up statistic, actually 3 of them, that consistently give you somewhere close to 100. Okay, so after we do that, then we're going to calculate each of your 3 made-up statistics for all 25 samples of size 7. Okay, once we do that, we're going to make a dot plot of each statistic. We want to make sure that on each dot plot, so we're going to have our 3 made-up statistics, and we're going to have dot plots, and each of them are going to have the same scale. So like maybe 0 to 150 or 200. It just depends on what your range is. So all of them need to have the same scale. 100 should be in the middle because 100 is your goal. That's where you want all of your statistics to land the most often. Okay. So after you make a dot plot, you're going to look at which one is centered most around 100, okay, and is less spread out. And that's the stat you're going to choose, and you're going to say why you chose it and compare it to the other ones. Talk about shape, center, and spread. And what you're going to turn in, well, you have to be sure to follow what to turn in part from the textbook problem in your notes. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make up a couple of really bad statistics, okay? So I'm going to make up some really bad statistics here, and I've got all my data sets. So my statistics, if I put them on another page, here's stat number 1, number 2, and number 3, and I don't care how you do this. You don't have to do it the same way, organize it the same way I do. Well, let's say stat 1 is twice the median. We've used that one. No one is allowed to use this. The second stat would be, let's just say it's max plus the min divided by sigma, and let's make that 3 times the max plus the min divided by sigma. And then the last one, let's just make it the IQR 1.5 IQR plus the min. So I've got these 3 statistics, and what I'm going to do is I'm now going to take for each data set, I'm going to calculate, for this data set, I'm going to calculate each of these statistics. So here's for data set 1, and I'm just going to do this for a couple of them to show you how to calculate it. That's it. You're going to do it for all of them. So twice the median for number 1, twice the median, 49 times 2, so 49 times 2 is 98. Okay, and for the second data set, twice the median is 104. Okay, so now for my second statistic, for using my first data set, the max plus the min, 90 plus 2, so 90 plus 2 times 3, and then divide that by the standard deviation for data set 1. So that, 276 divided by 30.6 gives me 9.0. That's really bad. Okay. So then for my second data set, the max plus the min, let's see, that's 95 plus 5 is 100 times 3, so 300, divided by the standard deviation, which is 35.5, and that's 8.5. Oh, that's really bad. Okay, that's a bad statistic. Okay, and then the last statistic using the first data set, the IQR for this, Q3 minus Q1, 79 minus 21, IQR is 58, so 58 times 1.5 plus the minimum, which was 2, that's 89 for the first data set. And then for the second data set, the IQR, 83 minus 8 is 75 times 1.5, and then plus 5, so that's 117.5. All right, so this is just for my first 2 data sets. You're going to do the same thing for all your data sets. Then when you're done, you're going to take each of your stats. So this will be twice the median. This one would be 3 max plus min divided by sigma, and the last one is 1.5 IQR plus the minimum. You put the same scale on each, 100. You're going to want to make a good scale, you know, maybe go 100 to 200, and then you'll want like quite a few marks in here. You know, each of these marks represents the 25. Okay, and you could even go farther than that, but I'm just trying to be fast here. So for my first one, I only have 2 of these. These both go on the first graph, graph 1. So that's 104, 104, and that's 98. And again, you're going to want to make your scales a little bit nicer, like go by tens. Okay, for the second one, basically my 2 things are, this is 25. They're both like right there and right next to each other. And for my third one, 89, let's see, that's about right there, and 117.5. So far it looks like 2 of my stats are okay. Okay, this one's bad. Okay. Again, that's why the bad one shouldn't have happened, because you should have explored a little bit. So maybe you would adjust this after the first couple. Maybe dividing by sigma isn't a good idea. Maybe dividing by n is a better idea. I don't know. But the ones I made up, you can't use. All right, so that's an idea of the textbook problem. Any other questions, please ask. This is due Friday at the beginning of class. You can handwrite it. You can, well, mostly handwriting it, because you'll need to turn all of these artifacts in. And again, follow the directions in the notes. So thank you.